What we're going to be going over today is the Pages function within the program. We're going to be talking about portfolios and using those portfolios in the search feature. We're going to go over one search and look at some of the results from that search and talk about some other search setups as well. And we're going to finish it off as time allows with the auto page feature. Last week we talked about setting up the program, getting the user settings set to how you would like them, using chart templates, setting the chart background and things like that. And this week we're going to get into a little bit of the search so that we can find some of the trade setups that we talked about in the past. There's a few different ways to open up the search in the Advanced Get program. You've got the little magnifying glass looking icon that says New Search on it. You can go to the File menu and select New Search, or as it says out to the right here, you can select Control S to bring up a new search window as well. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll do a Control S, and that brings up the search window, which looks just like this. In the upper left-hand corner of the search window is a place that asks for a portfolio. We're going to be going over portfolios here in just a couple minutes. To the right of that is the parameters. That's where we're going to enter in the parameters that we're searching by. And everything else down here we'll go over a little bit as it goes along. So let's go ahead and close down the search for now and start with Pages. I'm going to go ahead and go to File and New Chart and load up a chart of the QQQ. We'll go ahead and maximize that so it fills up the entire screen. And then something else we talked about last week, I'll right click, go down to Templates, and I'm going to apply our September WebEx template that we created last week. And there's what the QQQ looks like right now. This is QQQ on a daily chart. I'm going to go ahead and load up another chart here. We'll just pick one. We'll pick IBM and load that up as well. And I'll do the same thing again. I'll right click, go to Templates, and this time I'll select the Seattle template from when we did a seminar in Seattle and hit load. And down here are all the studies and indicators that we applied in that Seattle template. And then I'm going to go to Window and Tile Vertically. And now I have these two charts side by side. Now that I have something set up here that I may want to be able to retain at a later date, I'm going to save this as what's called a page within the Advanced Get program. To do this, we're going to go ahead and access the Page menu up at the top. And since I'm saving a new page, I want to select the Save Page As selection from the Page menu. When I do that, the Save As window pops up, and this is what you'll see the first time you go to save a page. I went ahead and deleted all my pages that I had in here so we could start from scratch just like you would see it the first time you use the Pages feature. On the left-hand side is the word Pages. What this Pages is actually a folder inside of your Get folder on your hard drive. Give a little bit of background on folders and files. You can think of your computer as a big filing cabinet. And each drawer in your filing cabinet is a different drive on your computer. The top drawer might be your floppy drive, where you put floppy disks in. The next drawer down might be your CD-ROM drive, where you would place CDs into your computer. And we'll call the third drawer down, we'll call it the C drive, and that'll be your computer's hard drive. That's where all the information is stored on your hard drive. And in that drawer, you'll have any number of folders. Just like on your computer's hard drive, you could have a number of folders on the hard drive. Inside those folders, you'll have either subfolders, which are additional folders to contain information, or individual files. And what we're looking at here on the left, where it's labeled Pages, is a folder. On the right-hand side will be the contents of the folder on the left. So right now I have Pages folder highlighted on the left, and on the right is empty. It means we have nothing inside the Pages folder at this time. I can go up here to the top and select the Auto Title button, and it gives my new page a name. Or I can type a new name on my keyboard here, and we'll call it Test Page for WebEx. And with the Pages folder highlighted on the left, when I hit the Save button, it's going to save that page inside the folder. Now you notice that page is highlighted. We have page number 1, test page for WebEx, inside the Pages folder. So this page over here is an individual file saved inside of this Pages folder. We could place new folders inside of this Pages folder using the icon in the lower left-hand corner. If I go ahead and select that button there, it's going to give me a new folder, which is inside of, as denoted by this little dotted line here, it's inside of the Pages folder. So we'll call it WebEx folder. And now with the WebEx folder highlighted, you'll notice that there's nothing included in that folder on the right. So we have no files inside this WebEx folder. But if I select the Pages folder, we do have a file inside of that. This is a difficult concept for a lot of people to grasp, so I want to make sure it's driven home before we move on. Let me go ahead and cancel out of there, and I'll do another review from last week. I'll type AOL and do a $G, which, if you remember from last week, stands for global. It's going to change both of these charts to AOL when I hit the Enter button. Now both charts are AOL, and we'll go ahead and change the one on the right to a weekly chart. And now we have an AOL daily chart on the left and an AOL weekly chart on the right. And I'm going to save this as a page inside of our WebEx folder that we just created. So I'll go to Page, Save Page As, highlight the folder in which I want this page to be saved, and select the Auto Title button, and then hit Save. So now when I go to Page and Load Page, which is how I retrieve the information that I have saved as a page, I have my AOL page in the WebEx folder and a test page for WebEx inside of the Pages folder. So it's a little bit on how this Pages structure works. I'm going to go ahead and create another new folder inside of here and call this Search Results. And we'll say it's 10/1 of 03. We'll use this folder later on after we do our searches. We'll do the auto page feature, which will put all of the results from our search into this folder right here. And like I said, we'll go over that in a little bit. And that's just the very brief basics on how Pages work. You can save any number of things in the pages that you want. You can toss a quote screen in there, and that can be saved as part of your page as well. You can have a search window open in there, and making sure that Independent of Pages is not checkmarked. You can have this as part of your page as well. And I'll go ahead and go to Page, Save Page As. We'll save this in the Pages folder, do an auto title, and hit Save, and we'll be able to retrieve this as well. Let me go ahead and clear the screen, and now I'll show you what the benefit is from having these pages saved. I now have nothing in the Get folder, but I can go to Page and Load Page and select our test page for WebEx, and it brings back up that information that I had. So anything that I've drawn on here, I can draw lines, I can write text on here, I can draw a mob on here. Now that I have made changes to an already existing page, I don't want to use the Save Page As feature. Save Page As is always used when saving a brand new page. But this page is not new, we just made some changes to an already existing page. When you want to save the changes that you've made to an already existing page, you're going to want to use the Save Page selection. When I select that, it's just going to resave what I've done to Test Page for WebEx. If you look in the lower right-hand corner of the Get screen, it shows the page that's currently accessed. So we're currently looking at Page 1, Test Page for WebEx, and we just saved the changes that we made to that. I'm going to go ahead and load the next page that we had in there. There's all the information from there. And I'm going to go back to the one that we were just looking at just to show you that those changes have stayed there. There's all the lines, the mob, and the text that I drew on that. So that's the basics of the pages. And like I said, we'll come back to this here in a little bit and save a bunch of pages in that search results folder that we created moments ago. So let me go ahead and clear screen and open it up right now for any questions. Let me check the chat here, see if there's any questions that we have over here. There's a question here that says, is there any way to copy or move a page from one folder to another? Doing a save as into another folder is cumbersome. I'll go over that here when we go into the session on auto paging here in a few moments. We'll have a lot more pages to work with at that point, and I'll go over that then. Does anyone who's involved in the conference call have any questions? All right, we'll go ahead then and continue on, and we'll talk about portfolios. When we say a portfolio in Advanced Get, a portfolio is nothing more than a list of symbols. It doesn't have any information about the symbol. It doesn't have any technical analysis on any chart. None of those things have to do with a portfolio other than being a list of symbols. You can access your portfolios in your Get program by going to File and Portfolios, or if you're looking at the Issue window, on the right-hand side is a Portfolios button selection there as well. I'll go ahead and select it, and you can see that I have a ton of portfolios already in my selection here. But I'm going to go ahead and create a new portfolio for the purposes of this presentation. To create a brand new portfolio, you're going to want to select the button in the lower right-hand corner that's marked New. When I select that, an Edit Portfolios window is going to pop up. Everything on the left-hand side are all of my available symbols to add to this portfolio. The right-hand side, where it's just blank right now, are all the symbols that I have added to that portfolio. I'm going to go ahead and give this portfolio a name. We'll call it WebEx Test Portfolio. Now we need to decide the symbols that we want to add. We can do several things to add symbols to this portfolio. We can highlight the symbols on the left-hand side and hit the Add button and add these one at a time. Just by clicking on different symbols on the left, I can add them to the right. I'll go ahead and delete all those. You can hit the Add All button, which is going to add all of the symbols from the left-hand side over to the right. That, in a sense, just duplicates whatever you have listed over here. We'll go ahead and delete all of those. Or you can do what's called Import a New List. And this is something I'm sure I'll be hearing from several of you about over the next couple of weeks. I have on my computer text files of some of the major indices out there. And I'll have to go hunting them down here. Go to Desktop. No, I take that back. I thought I had them on here. Here's one. Here's a new text document, and I can open up that text file, and there's nothing in that one. I apologize, I wasn't 100% prepared for that portion. I'll go ahead and select one that I've already done. I had a text file of the S&P 500 on my hard drive, and when I selected that, it pulled in all the symbols for the S&P 500. Once I've done that import of that list, of that text file on my computer, I can hit the Add All button, and we'll just call it WebEx Test SP500. When I hit OK, I now have a portfolio entitled WebEx Test SP500. That portfolio includes 500 symbols, all of the stocks from the S&P 500. You can do this with any text file you have on your computer's hard drive. If you have the S&P 100, the NASDAQ 100, the Dow 30, list of optionable stocks, any one of those text files, you can import that as a list into Advanced Get. At the end of the presentation, I will put my email address on the screen so you can see it. If you'd like any of those text files, you can email me and I'll be more than happy to send them to you with instructions, again, on how to import those as a list into the program. So that's what we do with portfolios. Portfolios, as I said, is nothing more than a list of symbols. And we're going to use that list of symbols when we do our search here momentarily. I'll go ahead and cancel out of here and bring up the search window. And I'll go ahead and maximize it so it takes up the full screen. And we're going to go over the parts of this search window once again. Portfolio in the upper left-hand corner is where we decide the list of symbols we want to search. I'll go ahead and select the S&P 500 by hitting the little gray button out to the right of Portfolio and selecting our WebEx test SP500. And when I hit OK, you'll see that pop up there under Portfolio. This means that when we conduct our search, we're only going to be looking at 500 symbols from the S&P. Now the parameters just to the right of that is where we decide what criteria we would like to search by. I've already created one called Type 1 By, but I'll go ahead and show you how I created that here in just a minute. We'll select the New button to create a new set of portfolios. A new set of parameters for this search. Again, I selected the Parameters button just out to the right. In the Parameters window, I selected the New button. And now we're at the Edit Parameters window. Go ahead, for consistency's sake, and call this WebEx Test Search. And you'll see on the left-hand side here are all of the criteria that we have to search by. Let's go ahead and choose to search by Elliott Wave 4 as one of the criteria. And we'll put a price range in there. We'll throw the profit-taking index in, the oscillator pullback, and I'll put an average volume in there as well. We're going to make this a Type 2 cell. Nope, there's not enough room for my next cell in there. Go ahead and delete that. And we'll call this our Type 2 cell for our WebEx test. The number of bars being set to 1 means that the search is going to look 1 bar ago for all of the results. In other words, it's going to look 1 bar ago to see if it meets the criteria that we put out here in the parameters. If bars is set to 5, it's going to look anywhere within the last 5 bars to see if our parameters criteria were met. It does not mean that it's looking specifically 5 bars ago. It means that it's looking anywhere within the last 5 bars to see if it meets the criteria. Just to the right of bars is the period. We can search by 60-minute, daily, weekly, or monthly. That just means that if we have it set to daily, as we do right now, it's going to look on all the daily charts to see if it meets our criteria. Active issues only deals only with futures contracts. If you have expired futures contracts in your issue list or in the portfolio that you are searching by, checking active issues only will ignore all of those expired futures contracts. We've already added our parameters over to the right-hand side, but we could take that a step further and edit those parameters. I can highlight these one at a time and select the Edit button out to the right. When I do so, it's going to bring up the edit parameters for just that specific criteria. And for a Type 2 cell, we're looking for our Elliott waves to be in the down direction. We have a downward trend. So I'm going to set that to down. The price range, I'll go ahead and set that to a low of $15. You don't want to look at anything below $15 if we're looking to short it. So I'll hit OK. Under PTI, it's set to 35. And again, the direction of the Elliott waves, we'll set it to down. The oscillator pullback, based on our criteria for a Type 1 cell, want a maximum of 140 for the pullback on the oscillator, a minimum of 90%. And again, the direction of our Elliott waves is going to be down. Don't worry if you don't have these criteria memorized in this presentation here. I can send all of you the top 6 search criteria that we look for the top 6 types of searches that we do. Again, I'll offer my email address here at the end, and you'll be able to email me for those if you'd like to request those as well. Under average volume, I'm going to go ahead and set that to 1 million shares. I want it to be, on average, traded above 1 million shares over the last 65 days. And I'll hit OK. So we've edited our parameters here to be specific for what it is we're looking for. I'll go ahead and set the bars back to 1 and change this to be a 1 as well. So this should be a type 1 cell, which is what I actually set up here. And I'll hit OK. And now you'll see in the parameters listing that we have our WebEx test type 1 cell set up in our list of parameters. If I hit the parameters button, you'll see that it's listed under parameters there as well. So we have our portfolio inserted. We're looking at all of the 500 symbols from the S&P 500. We've got our parameters in there. We're looking for a type 1 cell with the price range set above $15 and an average volume of over 1 million shares. And now our status says ready, meaning that we can go ahead and start our search. To start the search, all I need to hit is the green play button here, and you'll see the search begin to run. The button just next to the play button turns to a red button. We'll just continue again. You'll select the pause button just next to stop. Underneath those 3 buttons, it says any parameter. And out to the right, it lists the 5 parameters that we set up for our search criteria. And you'll notice that as each criteria is met, there'll be a check under that column in a row for the stock that meets that criteria. We're not really interested in the stocks that only meet 1 through 4 of these criteria. We really want the ones that meet all of the criteria that we have set out. If I left click where it says any parameter, that changes to all parameters and now lists the stocks that meet all of the parameters that we have in our search criteria. But here's our list of 6 symbols that meet the criteria for a type 1 cell. I can double click on any one of those results and it brings up a chart of that result. I'm going to go ahead and right click on the chart, go to templates, select our September WebEx template that we created last week and hit load. And that shows us that we have a stock that's in an Elliott wave 4. The PTI is above 35. The oscillator has retraced back to 0, retracing at least 90%, but no more than 140%. And if I put the volume up here, you'll see that on average over the last 65 days, we've averaged over 1 million shares. And the stock is above $15. So it meets all the criteria that we put out in our search. However, at first glance, we notice that it has broken the red wave 4 channel and has violated that for the type 1 cell criteria. So this is not a stock that we would look at that meets the criteria for a type 1 cell. For whatever reason, the programmers have never put in to be able to search by the wave 4 channels, but a 3-second glance at this shows us that we're not able to take that as a trade. What I'm going to do is go ahead and go to the window menu and select tile vertically. And that puts my search right next to the chart that I just created. And now double clicking on any one of the other search results will bring up that stock. Here's one, Costco Wholesale Corporation. Electronic Data Systems, Southern Company, no good, it broke the wave 4 channels. TXU Corporation, let's take a look at this one here. oh wow, that's just an ugly chart altogether, so we'll ignore that as well. So not a whole lot going on with the type 1 cell, but that's how you can quickly look at the criteria, making sure that you have all parameters selected. That'll list all of the results that meet all of your criteria that you have laid out. And those are our results. Let me go ahead and change our parameters to be a type 1 buy. And I'm going to change and look at my entire issue list for that as well. It's going to take a while for this search to run, so I'm not going to let the whole thing run. Hopefully we'll get some results here pretty quickly. Well, I ran the search earlier, and I know of one that came up, which is BBY. I think we looked at this last week as well. This is one of the results that came up for last week for a type 1 buy. It's retraced at least 90%, no more than 140%. It's holding above the blue wave 4 channel. The PTI is above 35, and we're in an Elliott wave 4 situation. So this is the type of thing that you're looking at when you want to look at the search results. Still nothing listed there. There, when I hit any parameter, it shows all the ones that are showing up that meet one, but not all, of the search results. All parameters still doesn't show any. While this is running, let me go ahead and put up my email address on here. There's my email address for anyone who would like to email me this week and request the text files that you can import as new lists into your program, as well as I have Word documents or PDF documents of the search criteria for both the type 1 and 2 buy and sell. That's 4 separate documents. And then buying with the trend and selling with the trend. I have the setup search criteria for all of those on my computer that I can send to you via email if you want to go ahead and request those. Let me go ahead and check the chat here to see if anybody has any questions. Oh, there's a lot of questions in here. Okay, someone is asking what format text and how separated. It's just a symbol. In other words, it would be AOL, and then the return key would be hit, and the next row would be IBM, the return key would be hit, then MSFT, the return key would be hit. So it's just a list of symbols themselves, separated just by a return key. Someone else is asking how can we get a list of optionable stocks. You can get that list from me if you want to go ahead and request that from me. Also, in the next release of the Advanced Get program that comes out here in the next couple weeks, there will be automatically a list of optionable stocks that comes with your nightly download, so you won't have to create that portfolio. That'll be done for you. Let's see what the next question is here. It says, is there any way to combine all of the following steps into one process? To search, create a portfolio, and create pages. There's not a way to do that all in one process, but the auto page feature that I'm going to show you here should help out with that and save you a little bit of time. So hang on till the end here and we'll be able to answer that for you. The next question says, what does the Change All Charts checkbox do on the search screen? Let me go ahead and bring that up here again. Now we're getting some results on there. Change All Charts means that if you have 3 charts open in the background, which I only have 1 right now, but if you have 3 charts open in the background and you double click on any one of the search results, it's going to change all 3 of those charts to the symbol that you double click on. And while we're here, I might as well go over independent pages again. I did that last week, but just as a review, anything marked as independent of pages will be ignored by any of the things that you do with the page function. So if you have, like we have right now, a search and a chart right next to each other, and I were to go and save this as a page, this search screen is marked as independent of pages. It would not be saved on that page. only the chart would be. So anything that's marked as independent of pages gets ignored when you do anything with the search criteria. I'm sorry, with the page criteria. Let's go ahead and check some more questions here. Is there any way to automatically get the difference between the same search run yesterday and today? No, there's no way to get any difference from that. I actually had never thought to do that. That's something that does sound like a valid thing to look for, knowing that you are going to run the search every day and you don't want to go through the same ones every day. So that's something I can talk to the programmers about, but is not in the program currently. And someone else is just asking for the email again. Let me go ahead and put that back up, and I'll leave that there now. Does anybody who's involved in the conference call have any questions at this time while we're waiting for that search to complete? All right, no questions from the conference call. The email address again is just nmccartney@mail.esignal.com. And I'll put it back up here again a little later on. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and go to Page, Save Page As, and we'll save this as Nate's email. And we'll have that saved as page there. I'm going to go back over to the search window here. It's still running, but I'm going to go ahead and stop it. And here's all the results that we have for our type 1 buys so far, only going through the Ks. And I'll go ahead and tile that vertically. I like to have my chart on the left. And you'll see that any one of these that we double click on, just like I said a moment ago, it's going to go ahead and change that chart on the left. But something else I'd like to do, and we don't have a whole lot of results here, so it's no trouble to go through one by one and look at these. But at times, you might have a list of results that looks something like this, where you have several hundred results. In this case, almost 3,200 results from this one search. And we'll just pretend, for the sake of argument, that it meets all the criteria that we have set up here. At this point, you're going to want to do a couple of steps to be able to save these search results as a page. Each one of these is going to be listed as a page in your program, and you can go over them in a different manner that I'll show you here momentarily. What I'm going to do first is save this list of results as a portfolio. And I can do so just by right-clicking in the list of results down here and selecting Make Portfolio. When I do that, all of these symbols on the right come up in our list of results. And we'll call this WebEx Results. And when I hit OK, I now have a portfolio saved of all of these results. I'm done with that search window, so I'm going to close it down and expand this chart here, and it has all of the studies on it that I want to use for all these saved pages. It's going to use this existing chart as the template for the pages that we're going to save. So this is the Auto Page feature. I'm going to go to the Page menu, and at the very bottom it says Auto Page. It brings up a familiar looking window here, just slightly different from the Save Page As window. And you notice I have the same folders that I had before. And I said we were going to come back to this search results folder here a little later on. Now's the time. There's nothing in this folder right now. Over on the right-hand side, it's blank, so there's no pages saved in here right now. But I'm going to make sure that that is highlighted so that these new pages that we do with the Auto Page feature get saved into this search results folder. So again, you want to make sure that the folder that you want the pages to be saved in is highlighted. We're going to go ahead and put in our WebEx Results portfolio. This is all the search results saved as a portfolio. And I want to make sure that it's set to Save Auto Pages. I'm going to have my rotation speed set to 0 so that it takes a lot less time here. And when I select the Auto Page button, you're going to see it scroll through very quickly all of these lists of results that we have. So again, each of these things that's coming up is something that met one of the criteria that we had listed in our search. For most intents and purposes, you're not going to do with a list this extensively, but just to show you how it works, and the benefit of it is when you have a great list of results. So these aren't going to meet all the criteria that we had laid out, but are going to give us something to work with here. So we're still in the A's, but we have, if you look down on the lower right-hand corner, about 85 listings so far. I'm going to go ahead and stop it when we reach about 100. I don't want to go through all 3,200 here. So here we have the first 100 results. What I did to stop it is I hit the stop rotate button here. When I hit the load pages, you'll see that we have 100 saved pages listed here in our folder labeled search results. So if you have a couple hundred results that you get from your searches, you can do this auto page feature, and it'll save your list of results so that you can go through them on your own pace and at your own time. The benefit of having these as pages is I have page 100 loaded in that folder. What I can do now is use these two buttons up on the toolbar, previous page and next page. If I hit next page, it's going to go to page 1 in that folder. Hitting it again, I'll go to page 2, and I can quickly scroll through these at my own pace to find the ones that I want to look at. We can manage these further if I go ahead and hit the load page icon on here. If I find one that doesn't meet the criteria that I like, I can highlight it and hit the delete page button, and now I've gotten rid of that page. So if it doesn't meet the criteria, or if it's one of those we were looking at earlier that meets the wave 4, the PTI, and the oscillator parameters, but has broken the red wave 4 channels, we'll say CEX has done that. I can delete that page, and now it's gone out of my list. And once I get through my list, what I have is a folder containing all of those symbols that are meeting the criteria that I'm looking for that day. So I'll have a complete listing of things that I want to look at as possible trading opportunities, already saved as a page, already nicely, neatly condensed into one folder. To answer the question of somebody before, let me go ahead and we'll create a folder labeled Keepers. Somebody was asking before how you could transfer these from one to another. You can't copy the page, but what you can do is drag the pages from one folder to another. So I'm looking in the search results folder right now. I'm going to drag and drop this $CAC page by holding my left mouse button down on it and dragging it over to the Keepers folder. When I release my mouse button, it goes ahead and drops it in the Keepers folder. And I'll go ahead and do that with a couple more here. Drop the midcap in there. And now when I highlight the Keepers folder, you'll see that those 3 pages that I just drug over there are now included in that folder instead of the other one. Again, this is not copying it, it's actually transferring it from one folder to another. So that is the auto page feature. I like to use it whenever I do my searches. If I have a big list of results, I like to go ahead and save those using the auto page feature so that I can retrieve them at a later date. So I know that was gone over very quickly. I am recording this session and will have it posted up under the recorded events on our web space here probably later this week. We are negotiating more web space to put these up, so I haven't posted last week's up there yet, but it will be up there as well here as soon as we get the additional web space put up there. So this week's and last week's will be up there. They'll be there under my name, Nate McCartney, and the date which they were recorded is probably the best way to find them on the listing there. So the days will be listed under October 1st, and you'll be able to find it hopefully later this week. Let me jump over to the chat here and see if there's any additional questions. Somebody is asking, why don't you add a check to verify the price is above and the auto trend channels or 6-4 moving averages to type 1 searches? That's something that you can do if you want to do that. I didn't just for the sake of simplicity here, but it is something that you can do. I did add a price range to make sure the price is above. but I did not add the auto-trend channels or a 6.4 as a trigger to my search. That is by all means something that you can do. It's just an additional criteria that you can put on. Does anybody who's involved in the conference call have any other questions at this time? All right, anybody involved in the chat? Let's see, somebody just popped up another question here. Is there any way to save a list of stocks for export to other packages? That's a very good question. And actually, yes, that is something that has been added to the latest version of the program. If I go into the portfolios area, and we'll go ahead and use our WebEx results here as an example. That one's pretty large. Let's use the WebEx test for the S&P 500. If I go in to edit that portfolio, over here on the right, you have a selection that says Save as List. And that's how you're going to export this out into a text file. You notice when I hit that button, it's going to save this out as WebEx test sp500.txt. That's just a text file, and Save In is listed as my desktop right now. If I go ahead and hit the Save button, I now have a text file of this WebEx test sp500 portfolio on my desktop. And you can use that text file for use in any other program you'd like. So yes, you can do that. That will be available here in the next release of the program. It should be out within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And actually, some of you, I'm blocking on what release that is in. It might be in the current release that you have out there now. Just go to your Portfolios section and look for that Save as List feature. And you can go to File, Portfolios, highlight any one of the portfolios, and go to Edit. And if you have that Save as List button on there, then that feature is in your current release of the program. But again, the newest release should be out here in the next couple of weeks, and it'll be definitely in that release. Let me go ahead and put my Nate's email page back up there again, so everybody can check out my email address. I'll look for questions here. No more questions in the chat. Anybody in the conference call have any additional questions? All right. Again, that was short and sweet. I realize that. But like I said, you can email me for those portfolio text files. You can also email me for those search setups for the end-of-day program. If you have any additional questions that I didn't get to here, then by all means you can email that to me as well. I'll be more than happy to answer your question. Other than that, I will have to get going here. But like I said, I'll have this posted up on our recorded events here, hopefully within the next couple of days, and you'll be able to access this again. If you have difficulty finding that, you can email me for that as well, and I'll send you a link where you can get a hold of these presentations that we've done. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope you have a great week, and we'll look to schedule something again here for next Wednesday, and we'll go over some more information on the end-of-day program then as well. So y'all have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.